For more than 70 years, one symbol has quietly defined the structure of modern military power. It isn't a missile, it isn't a satellite, it isn't even a nuclear weapon. It is the aircraft carrier, a floating city of steel capable of projecting military force anywhere on Earth's oceans. At the center of this system sits the American supercarrier fleet, the largest and most powerful naval force ever assembled in human history. Among these ships is the massive USS Abraham Lincoln, CVN-72, a nuclear-powered carrier capable of carrying dozens of fighter jets and more than 5,000 personnel. Wherever a carrier like this appears, it sends a simple message. The United States has arrived, and the balance of power in that region has already changed. But now a claim has emerged that could challenge that assumption in a way the world has not seen since the Second World War. According to statements from the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the USS Abraham Lincoln was targeted in a missile strike in the Persian Gulf. Iranian officials say 4 ballistic missiles were launched toward the carrier in retaliation for recent regional attacks. Whether the strike caused damage remains disputed, but the claim alone has triggered alarm across defense communities worldwide, because aircraft carriers have long been considered the most heavily defended ships ever built. If one of them can be struck even once, the strategic consequences extend far beyond a single battlefield. It would force militaries, governments, and alliances around the world to reconsider assumptions that have shaped global security for generations. At first glance, a military confrontation in the Persian Gulf may appear distant from everyday life in other parts of the world. But the truth is that the stability of global trade, energy markets, and international security is deeply connected to the waters surrounding the Middle East. The Persian Gulf is one of the most strategically important maritime regions on Earth. Every day, enormous quantities of oil and natural gas pass through nearby shipping routes, particularly the narrow Strait of Hormuz. If tensions in this region escalate into a wider conflict, the consequences ripple through global supply chains, fuel prices, financial markets, and political alliances. That is why the presence of American aircraft carriers in this region has historically served as a stabilizing factor. When a carrier strike group enters contested waters, it represents not only military strength but also a deterrent signal to potential adversaries. The United States currently operates 11 nuclear-powered carriers, far more than any other nation. This fleet has allowed American forces to respond quickly to crises across the globe, but deterrence works only as long as the symbol of power remains credible. If an adversary demonstrates the ability to threaten or damage a carrier, even symbolically, it introduces uncertainty into the entire strategic equation. Allies may begin to question security guarantees, while rivals may see new opportunities to challenge existing power structures. The situation escalated rapidly, following a series of military strikes and retaliatory actions in the region. According to Iranian state media, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps launched a coordinated attack targeting the USS Abraham Lincoln, CVN-72, while it was operating in the Persian Gulf. Iranian officials claimed that 4 ballistic missiles were fired toward the carrier group, framing the action as a response to recent operations involving the United States and Israel. In their public statements, the guards declared that the attack represented a warning and promised further retaliation if hostilities continued. At the same time, American officials have not confirmed that the carrier was successfully struck or damaged. This discrepancy highlights one of the defining features of modern conflict: information warfare. In the digital age, narratives can spread across the world within minutes, long before independent verification becomes available. Governments release statements, analysts interpret satellite imagery, and social media amplifies speculation. As a result, the immediate aftermath of a military incident often becomes a battle over perception as much as a battle over facts. Even an unconfirmed claim can reshape the strategic conversation because it forces policymakers and military planners to consider the possibility that previously secure platforms might now be vulnerable. To understand why this situation matters, it is necessary to look beyond the headlines and examine the deeper technological shifts shaping modern warfare. For decades, aircraft carriers dominated naval strategy because they combined mobility, air power, and layered defensive systems. A typical carrier strike group includes escorting destroyers and cruisers equipped with advanced radar and missile interceptors. These systems form a protective shield designed to detect and destroy threats long before they reach the carrier itself. However, over the past 20 years, new weapons have emerged that challenge this defensive model. Ballistic missiles capable of traveling at extremely high speeds can approach targets from high altitudes, while low-flying drones can attack from unexpected angles. When used together in coordinated waves, these systems can create complex attack patterns designed to overwhelm defensive layers. Some military analysts refer to this strategy as saturation attacks. The idea is simple. Instead of relying on a single weapon, attackers launch multiple types of threats simultaneously, forcing defense systems to divide their attention. If enough vectors approach at once, even sophisticated defense networks may struggle to intercept every incoming threat. Behind the geopolitical analysis and military technology lies a human reality that is often overlooked. A modern aircraft carrier is not just a warship, it is a community. On board the USS Abraham Lincoln, CVN-72, are roughly 5,000 sailors, pilots, engineers, and medical personnel who live and work together for months at sea. The ship contains its own hospital, workshops, living quarters, and command centers. In many ways, it functions like a floating city operating far from home. Any attack against such a vessel carries immediate risks for the people on board. Fires, damage control operations, and emergency procedures become critical in the first moments after a strike. Crews train extensively for these scenarios, practicing how to isolate damaged compartments, control flooding, and prevent secondary explosions. But the consequences extend beyond the ship itself. Military conflicts also disrupt commercial shipping, insurance markets, and energy infrastructure. When tensions rise in the Persian Gulf, shipping companies may reroute vessels, insurance premiums increase, and oil prices can fluctuate dramatically. These economic effects eventually reach ordinary consumers through higher transportation costs and energy prices. The first compounding crisis triggered by such incidents is strategic uncertainty. For decades, the presence of American carriers has served as a predictable element of international security. Allies understood that when tensions rose, a carrier strike group could be deployed to provide air support, surveillance, and rapid military response. This reliability allowed governments to coordinate defense planning with a clear understanding of available resources. But if the vulnerability of carriers becomes a widely accepted possibility, that predictability begins to erode. Countries that rely on American security guarantees may start reassessing their defense strategies. Some might accelerate their own military development programs, including missile defense or domestic weapon systems. Others may pursue new alliances to reduce dependence on a single partner. This shift does not happen overnight, but moments of uncertainty can begin the process. When long-standing assumptions are challenged, strategic planning across entire regions must adapt to a new and less certain environment. A second layer of crisis emerges through the global information environment. In previous decades, major military events unfolded slowly in the public eye. Reports traveled through official channels, and detailed information often took days or weeks to become widely available. Today, however, satellite imagery, open-source intelligence communities, and social media networks distribute information almost instantly. This rapid information flow can amplify both accurate reporting and misinformation. Analysts around the world begin examining radar data, flight patterns, and satellite photographs to determine what actually happened. Governments release carefully worded statements while attempting to maintain operational security. Meanwhile, financial markets react quickly to perceived risks, particularly in sectors connected to energy production and maritime trade. As a result, a single military incident can produce immediate economic and political reactions even before the full facts are established. Beyond the immediate military implications, events like this can influence national policy decisions. Governments must determine how to respond to perceived threats while balancing diplomatic, economic, and military considerations. Within the United States, discussions about defense budgets, military readiness, and strategic priorities often intensify following incidents involving major assets such as aircraft carriers. These debates extend to international alliances as well. NATO partners, Pacific allies, and regional security partners closely observe how the United States reacts to challenges involving its military forces. Their assessments influence future cooperation, defense planning, and intelligence sharing. If a major naval asset is threatened or attacked, it becomes more than a tactical event. It becomes a moment that tests the credibility of security commitments and the resilience of international partnerships. History shows that military technology evolves in cycles. At different times, battleships, submarines, aircraft, and missiles have each reshaped the balance of power. Aircraft carriers became dominant because they allowed nations to project air power across oceans without relying on nearby bases. For decades, this capability gave carrier fleets a decisive advantage. But every dominant technology eventually encounters new challenges. Advances in missile guidance, drone swarms, and electronic warfare are forcing military planners to rethink traditional strategies. Even if aircraft carriers remain powerful platforms, their role in future conflicts may evolve. They may operate at greater distances from contested zones, rely more heavily on unmanned systems, or integrate with new defensive technologies. What matters most now is not just whether a specific ship was struck, but what the possibility represents. The global security system is built on assumptions about deterrence and military capability. When those assumptions begin to shift, even slightly, the ripple effects can reshape strategies around the world. And moments like this may mark the beginning of a new chapter in how naval power is understood in the 21st century.